Today, my friends, we are going to talk about some insanely rare magic cards. I don't mean like Alpha Black Lotus style Alpha Moxes, which there's only about 1,000 of each in the world. No. We're going to talk about something far rarer. There are way fewer copies of these cards, and you and I, we will never own them, but we can certainly enjoy taking a look at them. Greetings, owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles. Today is going to be one of my favorite style of videos, where we get to take a look at some brand new, insanely rare cards, evaluate the flavor, enjoy them overall. We're going to be talking about the Hero of the Realm cards. Now, these Heroes of the Realm cards are insanely rare. There are only a few copies of each of these printed at all. And there are no artist proofs done of these sort of things as far as I understand either. So these things are super insano rare. This is actually the third wave of Heroes of the Realm that we're going to be looking at. I've actually done videos on these before, but the newest ones have come to light. They are available. So it's time to dive in and take a look at, we're going to start out with a Dungeons and Dragon themed card that has a gold dragon and a beholder on it. This is cool. This is Karis and the Beholder. One colorless, two green, two white. And actually, what's interesting to note as well is in the name, you can see the and symbol. The and symbol is, or what do they call it? Ampersand? Is that the name for it? Is that the official Classy Boy name for it? The ampersand is actually shaped in the Dungeons and Dragons logo styling, which I really like. We'll see that in the text box as well. So this is a 5 casting cost, 120 dragon, all right? It's a Dragon Eye Wizard. So it's got flying. When Karis and the Beholder, and there you can see the special little Dungeons and Dragons ampersand again. When Karis and the Beholder enters the battlefield, and at the beginning of your upkeep, create a 1/1 white human creature token and make a charisma check. And then in brackets it says, roll a d20, in case you're not familiar with what a charisma check is. If you play Dungeons and Dragons, you're very familiar with 20-sided die. But unlike other games, there's a lot of games just use 6-sided dice, right? So Dungeons and Dragons is where you get your 8-siders, your 12-siders, all kinds of weird siders, all the way up to like 100-siders, or I think they might even have pushed it to the absolute most extreme level, and there might be 200 or 300-sided dice, which is just crazy. Absolutely crazy. But anyways, you roll a 20-sided die to do this charisma check. If the result plus the number of creatures you control is greater than 11, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. If the result is a natural 20, for each non-legendary creature you control, create a token that's a copy of that creature. Now that's pretty neat. Honestly, I really enjoy the whole natural 20 concept. If you're not familiar with Dungeons and Dragons, traditionally how it works is if you roll a 20, that's considered either an automatic success or a mega success, where you've done something incredible, and it just be like, I'm gonna try and disarm my opponent. And you know, you roll the die, if you get a successful roll, sure, you disarm your opponent. But if you roll a 20, it's like, boom, you manage to knock the sword out of his hand, it flies up into the air, and then it like comes straight down and boom, right into his boot, like you did that on purpose, you know? Or you disarm the opponent, like you knock the weapon out of their hand and catch it in your other hand. So all of a sudden you're like, ha-ha! Like some crazy warrior god. That kind of stuff is fun. And actually, the power and toughness is also representing that whole concept of like die rolls on a 20-sider, because 20 is an automatic success. 1 is like a critical fumble, critical failure. So to me, that's cool. The power and toughness being 120 is quite enjoyable. Also enjoyable is the artwork. The level of detail that's going on here. Admittedly, when I first saw it, I'm like, Karis and the Beholder, and I'm looking around and I'm like, where's the Beholder? I'm looking all around the dragon, and then it dawned on me, oh my God, it's the Beholder's eye stalks. We're actually seeing the dragon kind of from the perspective of the Beholder, right? We're seeing the dragon from the perspective of the Beholder's main eye, because a Beholder is essentially like a giant floating ball that has one massive eye in the middle and a ton of little eye stalks, and all those eye stalks have different abilities, petrification, all kinds of stuff. Beholders are strong beasts. So you've got the beholder that kind of frames around the outside. You get to see from his perspective, which is pretty neat. I don't think I've ever seen a piece of art specifically from a beholder's perspective. The dragon is standing back, like roaring and breathing fire up into the sky. You can see there's light actually shining down through different holes in the dragon's wings. That's a nice little touch. And you can see piles of treasure heaped up below. Hopefully you'll be able to see all these details. I was able to find a decent piece of artwork for this. When it comes to these new cards and trying to like talk about the art and show it in some of these videos, it can be difficult sometimes because in some cases all I can do is get my hands on the card itself and I have to blow up the image, and that can lead to some kind of issues. But for this Karis and the Beholder, I was actually able to find what appears to be, we'll see, you guys can let me know when you're watching the video, whether I managed to get a good resolution piece of artwork. But this feels great. You've got a massive gold dragon with his tail all swung out all wild, standing over a massive pile of treasure, while like either sunlight or the light just coming from the illumination of his breath weapon going off is just like, it's cascading down through the holes in his wings. And the idea of like these old leathery dragon wings with some holes in them, it gives the creature a sense of age. You know what I mean? Like that's pretty funky. Or is this supposed to be Karis actually fighting the Beholder, and the Beholder has like blasted some holes in the dragon's wing, and the dragon is like rearing back and blowing like, because as far as it goes, now understand, I'm like a second edition Dungeons and Dragons style guy, Dragonlance style guy. So when it comes to my perspective, this may be a battle between two different forces, because the majority of beholders are not good aligned creatures, and gold dragons are very much good aligned creatures. So this is a pretty exciting card overall. I really like the flavor of it. I think that the power level of it is pretty solid too. I mean, 5 mana for a 1/20 creature is pretty funky. The fact that it generates a creature every single turn on top of giving you one like to go, like you put it out, you get a creature, it makes a creature every turn. Those creatures can grow with +1/+1 counters, or if you happen to hit that crazy 20-sided roll, you get to duplicate every non-legendary creature you have out. That is pretty amazing overall. This is a really cool card. These are the kind of cards I would love to have for my cube, but will never have the genuine article. I mean, someone may do a fan mock-up proxy, that's happened for me before, but never be able to get the real version of these cards. There are only a handful of them in existence. I love the fact that it's a Dragon Eye Wizard. That's a lot of fun. Next up, we have a card that actually will shine a little bit of an interesting concept from Magic the Gathering. Something may be changing about Magic the Gathering, and this card may be a hint. And this is Optimus Prime Inspiring Leader. So this is a Transformer-based Magic the Gathering card. I don't know about you guys, but I actually grew up with the old school Transformers, and I remember loving Starscream and finding it pretty adorable how he always wanted to try and take over from Megatron, but he was just completely inept. Also, speaking of Megatron, really, really weird to me that Megatron would go from this huge hulking kind of gigantic robot into a tiny little weapon. Like pew pew pew. Like, how does that work? How does he turn into that? Like, what? How does that work? And also, why didn't he turn into a vehicle like everybody else? Anyways, let's focus on the card here. Optimus Prime Inspiring Leader. 1 white, 1 red, 3 colorless for a 4/5 Autobot character in bot mode. Pay 1 mana, turn target permanent you control to its other face. Pay 1 mana, until end of turn Optimus Prime Inspiring Leader becomes a construct with base power and toughness 6/6, and creatures you control gain trample. Flavor text, roll out. Autobots, roll out. Yeah, man, that tickles the nostalgia sack. You know what I'm saying? I like that. I do like that. It reminds me of the old days. Optimus Prime turning into a big transport truck. Beep, beep, beep. Here we go. I love that. So, the interesting thing to note about this card, actually there are a number of interesting things, but one interesting thing to note about this is actually a dual game card. This card is actually usable in Magic the Gathering or in the Transformers collectible card game. And this is actually a triple-faced card. We can't see the other images because they're not available, unfortunately. I tried very hard to find them, but at this time, there is literally no way to see what the other side looks like. The other side's like a fold-out sort of thing where it turns into, I guess you flip it over and it's got a regular Transformer card, and then it opens up into an oversized Transformer card. That's the understanding that I was able to glean from the bit of information that was out there. Getting the image is literally impossible at this time, so unfortunately we won't be able to share that part with you, but it's interesting to note that he is actually a dual game card. You can't use his first ability to turn him over to his Transformer side, apparently. That's not allowed. There was someone on Wizard staff who specifically put out clarifying points about this card, and that was one of the clarifying points. So the first ability, really, which, like, from a flavor perspective, which is really cool, it actually represents transforming, right? That's what's going on. You are transforming cards into their other version. That makes perfect sense for Transformers. It's transform and roll out, baby. That's what the second ability is. Optimus Prime becomes a 6/6 construct with base power and toughness 6/6, and creatures you control gain trample. That's him saying to the Autobots, roll out, and them being inspired by their leader, and that's why they get trample. And that is a really, really good feeling. Honestly, I love this. Now, when we look at the artwork on the card, I mean, it's pretty standard fare. You've got Optimus Prime standing in front of, like, Autobot flags that are waving there. He's got his gigantic mega cannon. Ah, he looks so good, man. He looks so very traditional Optimus Prime, and I like that. I like the traditional look of the Transformers from when I was a kid. That's just how it is. That's human nature to like things in that fashion. So, you may have noticed that this card has like an altered legendary border frame, right? Like, if you look at it, you're like, oh, cool, it's like based on the Transformers form. But they did a stylistic version of the legendary border. But then you'll look down at the text box and go, wait a minute. It doesn't say legendary creature. It says Autobot character bot mode. So what does this mean? Well, it was confirmed by Wizard staff that this is indeed a legendary creature. So this may be a hint, and we don't know for sure, but this may mean that going forward at some point in the future, Wizards of the Coast is going to change the way that legendary cards work. Well, not really the way that legendary cards work. They'll still function like legendary cards. They will change the game identifiers that let you know a card is legendary. And that will be done by the border. So if you see a creature with a legendary border, you will automatically know it's legendary, and that will free up more space on the type line, which will allow them to experiment more, make creatures with more creature types, or maybe add in new subtypes on creatures. Whatever sort of experiments are in mind, I do believe that this may be a signal that we are going to have a shift in how legendary is represented. So that's a nice little side note to add on to this as well. Now, the final card that we're going to talk about is Soul Advocate Eternal. Now, this is a fun card. 1 black, 1 blue, 1 white, 1 green for a 4/4 legendary dragon angel. A dragon angel. That's a fun concept. And it's got legendary partner. You may be familiar with partner for commander, and partner allows you to take 2 different legendary creatures that both have partner and use them together as your commander. So you can choose to use either one or the other whenever you're going to do something. Oh, I want to cast this guy from my command zone. I want to cast this guy from my command zone. Get them both out. If they get wiped out, they go back to the command zone. It basically lets you play with 2 commanders. Well, Soul Advocate Eternal actually has legendary partner. So how that works is you can have 2 commanders if he is one of them and the other is promoted to legendary. So he will actually allow you to pick any creature in Magic the Gathering and make it an additional commander. So you can have him and a different, let's say you always wanted to build like a commander deck around some random non-legendary creature. Well, this will allow you to do that. You can technically have Soul in your command zone and never actually use him. You could base your entire deck around the other commander, but you can promote, you could have like a regular old Grizzly Bears. Check it out, regular old Grizzly Bears is my commander. Or a Cauldron Familiar if you want to just be an awful human being. You know, that sort of silliness is what you can do. So that's a really fun concept. Legendary Partner is a really fun concept. He's got flying and vigilance. That makes perfect sense for an angel. I mean, flying from the dragon side, vigilance from the angel side. Flying could also be from the angel side. That's totally fine. And he's also got teamwork. Whenever you attack or block with both Soul Advocate Eternal and its partner, support 4 and investigate 4 times. So that's a funky ability that only triggers if you have both commanders out, right? That's pretty neat. Like he's clearly a very much like a team player. He cares about everybody kind of setup, right? I mean, Soul Advocate Eternal, who's he advocating for? Is he advocating for everybody? This is the idea of like a good dragon angel in my eyes who cares about others and wants to help protect and foster them, right? So with teamwork, whenever you attack or block with both him and the other partner, you get to support 4. If you don't know what support 4 is, you get to put a +1/+1 counter on up to 4 creatures with support 4. And the other ability is investigate 4 times. And what investigate does is it puts a clue token into play. And you can pay 2 mana, sacrifice the clue token to draw a card. So he allows you to both bolster your friends and gain information, which makes perfect sense. The flavor text says, heroes endure, legends prevail. Now, what's interesting about that flavor text is if you actually take a look at each word and take the first letter of each word, his flavor text is help, H-E-L-P. I like that. That's a nice little touch. Speaking of nice little touches, it's hard to see in the artwork for the card, like on the card itself because of the full art, like with the text over it. But in this artwork, Soul Advocate Eternal is actually hovering above in a protective, majestic sort of way with what actually looks like an energy field almost around them. He's hovering above a raft that's been cast adrift. You can see the little mast is off to the side, and it's got a squirrel and a cat on it. How much fun is that? I love it. I love the little raft with the cat and the squirrel. That's my favorite detail of this piece of artwork. But Soul Advocate Eternal looks very impressive from this perspective too, right? You could just picture him plummeting from the heavens, just plummeting from the heavens and then abruptly stopping, like hovering directly above this raft and his wings just unfurling in this massive, majestic maneuver. You've got this halo, not halo, but like aura of energy around him as well. It looks like it could actually just be the framing of the clouds, but it does kind of make it seem like there's almost a protective shell around him. And he's pretty insane looking. He's got these big angelic wings, but he's got the dragon horns. The body is like kind of blue. It almost has kind of a minotaur feel, but he's got the long dragon tail. It looks like his legs are kind of feathery like an angel as well. So this is very interesting as a half dragon, half angel. Now, admittedly, I don't know exactly what property this one is referencing. I'm not sure, like I knew with the Transformers that it's obviously Transformers. With the Beholder and the Dragon, it's obviously Dungeons and Dragons. I don't actually know what game this is supposed to represent because I understand that that's what it's supposed to be. But anyways, we've taken a look at these cards. We've taken a look at the artwork. If you guys are curious about what the back of these cards look like, I'll toss up an image of the back of the cards because they don't have regular magic packs. It's got the Heroes of the Realm kind of thing. These are specific rewards that are given to Wizards employees that have done an exemplary job. So there are only a handful of these cards. And as far as I understand, none of any of these have ever made it out into the wild. And by out into the wild, I mean none of these have left the hands of Wizards employees, which is kind of amazing because people would be willing to pay a staggering amount of money for these cards, I imagine. If you went to the right sort of collector, I could easily see these cards fetching $1,000 or more. Now that's speculation on my part, right? But at the same time, these are extremely, extremely rare cards. And I've seen a lot of cards sold for crazy amounts of money based on just like weird misprints and things like that. So I don't think that it's unreasonable to consider that these may end up being worth a ton of money for the people who own them. But they're also going to be the sentimental value and the special nature of it too, right? So who knows? Maybe one day we will see some of these end up in the hands of private collectors. It would be really cool to own one, but I mean, the likelihood of any of us owning it is as close to zero as you can get without being absolute 0% chance, right? So you never know. Maybe you'll become a billionaire and you can hire your own team of goons to go get me that card, boys. You know, who knows? Who knows what the future holds for you guys? But I don't think I'll ever own one. That's all right, though. I can still enjoy them for what they are. Now, my friends, tomorrow I have another video coming out where we're going to talk about a lot of interesting artwork on special new cards as well. It will be similar to this style of video where we break down the artwork, talk about the flavor of the cards overall, because I genuinely enjoy doing that. That's one of the things that makes Magic so magical for me, is the artwork and the flavor. Otherwise, it's just almost lifeless mechanics, just words stamped on a card. And that's a lot more hollow to me. But either way, we'll be doing that tomorrow. So if you don't want to miss it, make sure you're subscribed to the channel so you don't miss out on that goodness. If you enjoyed the video, give it that sweet thumbs up. If you didn't like the video, then you can do one of these right there. Give it a little wiggle and thumb down. Whatever makes you happy, it's all good either way, baby. Let me know what you think, because that's the most important part. I want to thank my patrons and channel members. Also, I have got another channel where I do fun, silly nonsense, and we have a good time laughing. You're invited to come on over. I'm going to leave a link to some videos at the end of this video for that channel, because I'm trying to boost that channel upwards. And I will most likely be doing a surprise live stream over there, doing some wackiness today. So if you want to come and hang out for that live stream, you can. That live stream will also be left up afterwards, most likely, so you can check it out even if you don't make it on time. Come on over to the second channel. Have a good time with your boy, all right? So remember, my friends, together we are the sixth color of magic.